All right, I just filmed this, but it was on manual focus. So we're gonna do this again. I'm with the TikTok rock star,
Alexandra Krieger. My Instagram is @alexandra.krieger and my TikTok is @alkrieger with 2 R.
She doesn't have like crazy type of clothes, and I'm tired of all my clothes.
Yeah, basic clothes.
Yeah, that's fine. She's basic. So we went to Target actually. I bought a bunch of shit, spent like $150, but we returned half of it. So follow my steps and do the same exact thing. We're gonna shoot 2 looks, but we're about to go inside this bar. And obviously I'm not going to take all this in there because it looks busy here.
The whole parking lot is packed.
How do you feel so far?
I feel great.
You want to tell them how amazing I am?
You're...
Just kidding.
He's pretty cool. He's pretty cool. Not gonna lie.
Oh, here's my camera. I've been getting a lot of questions on how I use the flash on here, so maybe I'll go over that with you guys. Anything you want to close out on?
Let's grab a drink.
I was planning on showing you guys how I do my on-camera flash setup with this camera, but then Alexandra and I, we're just shooting, having fun and everything. First, I'm gonna go over the technical stuff, and I'm gonna try to make it as simple as possible. When it comes to flash, it's a whole different thing that you need to study and learn. So if you're new to it, go study up, please, because I don't know. Again, I'm going to try to make this as dumbed down as I can, just so you guys don't have to like dive too far into it if you're just trying to have fun with this camera. But then after that, I'm going to go over like my mindset and the whole point that I like doing the whole on-camera flash thing, and maybe you'll like it too. So there's 2 scenarios. The main scenario that I would use this camera for, and that I have been using it for, is for the moments on shoots where I'm trying to get more fun, retro, kind of authentic looking kind of shots. And then the more slowed down, more methodical, like you're actually planning out the shot kind of thing. Before I get even deeper into that, let's start off with the base. First off, you just want to get your base exposure. So whatever kind of feeling you're trying to get from your shot, you want to kind of set your base exposure off of that. Pretty much on all my cameras, I have the histogram turn on. You see the X100V also has it too. Base my exposure off of that. But if you're really basing your exposures on this camera based on the film simulations, because you're shooting JPEGs, you kind of got to do it by eye. Another cool thing about this camera is there's built-in NDs. And so this exposure by itself, if I'm trying to get max bokeh in there, I'm at 4,000 of a shutter speed, f2 at 640 ISO, I'm at 640 for dynamic range 400. I don't want it to look like true real life. I want it to look a little bit editorial. But say if I want to keep that max bokeh, I keep my aperture opened all the way up, and then I close down my ND. So I also set my ND to this quick button here. So I just click this and it turns on and off. But now I have to open my shutter back up. So now I'm at 500th of a shutter speed at f2.0, ISO 640 with my ND on. The ND's 3 stops. That's built into this. So that's my base exposure. Now, here comes the flash setting. First off, I have my custom button set up here to my flash settings, and you'll see that immediately opens it up to the flash settings. My usual go-to setting is the TTL mode. It's actually pretty accurate on here, and it hasn't really failed me. When it does, that's when I just go to manual mode. If you're in like really hardcore backlit situations, the flash might get confused. That's when you go to manual mode. So let's get into that a little bit. I turn it straight to TTL mode. If I'm shooting someone that has like really pale porcelain type skin, I will usually keep it at 0. But if I'm shooting anyone with any type of tan complexion or darker, I'm usually going up to 1 stop on the exposure compensation for the flash. But my kind of like safety area is around 2/3. This will give you that kind of overexposed look. The whole point behind me using the flash on here personally is I want that gritty type of raw look. So I want the subjects to be a little bit overexposed. And so again, 2/3 kind of does that. If you are shooting strictly JPEG, I would be a little bit more conservative on how much you overexpose it. I'd rather push a curve in post on the JPEG. But usually when I'm using a flash on here, I'm usually using the raw files. And the raw files, I could bring down the highlights if I push a little bit too much, but there's usually a bunch of detail within there that I can use. Now, if I'm in like any backlit situation, say if there's like the sun blasting through the lens or the sunset's confusing the meter, I will then put it into manual mode. And in manual mode, I've been using flash for a minute now, so I can usually kind of guess like where my manual flash is going to need to be at for something so simple like this. I'm usually only like a half a stop off, but I mean, you could easily just set this to 1/16 and then see if it's too dark, then obviously you want to go in and you want to brighten it up. And then if it's too bright, you just want to go and darken it. You kind of have to base it off your eye. There's no like real science to it, especially when it comes to something like this. You want it to look kind of raw. TTL mode should be doing the job for you. If it's not, you need to reevaluate what you're doing wrong. Maybe your base exposure is wrong. Maybe the vibe's just not there. And that will lead me now into the next point. The whole point that I use this is point and shoot film cameras became like a big thing like in the early 90s and beyond that too in the 80s. I think so, yeah, actually. People were taking it with them on vacation, to concerts, to events, to hangouts and everything. We didn't have phones back then with cameras on them. Take them to the 24-hour photo or the 1-hour photo and get them developed and printed. And that was how everyone was doing it. A lot of those point and shoot cameras had fixed focus on it, so you couldn't really focus with them. They had fixed apertures on it, fixed shutter speeds, or you get a disposable camera, and that was kind of the same kind of vibe. But on a lot of them, the flash was actually set to auto, so it turned on whenever there wasn't enough light coming into it, or if it metered for the subject and it thought it needed more light, the flash would automatically come on. So when I'm shooting with this, I'm kind of basing it off my eye. I'm trying to get the flash exposure to be where it almost makes the skin look too bright. When you're shooting JPEGs on here, it has a look to it where it looks too bright. When you transfer over to computer and stuff, it's like, sometimes it can peak, but if you're shooting a RAW, anytime I'm using the on-camera flash in here, I'm usually editing the RAW file because you can recover all that highlights if you need to. And so I'm pushing it to that point where it's almost overexposing, because again, I don't want it to look like it's perfect. The most important thing, go and look up old photos from that. Go and find retro photos. Like even back in the day, like a lot of photo shoots, they were just using hard tungsten lights, and tungsten had like this beautiful look on skin, and whole tangent on that. It's a whole different thing. But anyways, do your research, find out what makes that vibe a vibe. If you're just shooting someone in a whimsical dress in the forest and you're trying to do the on-camera flash, it probably isn't gonna look good because that's not the vibe for it. It's for like a rock and roll, friends having fun, like kind of low-key kind of look. If you're trying to force it, it's not gonna look good. Hey guys, that's it.